My ship, the Stardust Drifter, was a wreck. After a run-in with an asteroid field that my nav computer swore wasn't there, I was stranded on a backwater agri-world called Xylos. The ship was beyond my ability to repair. My credits were laughably low, and my stomach was starting to sing the blues. I was officially a castaway, a broke one at that. Xylos was quiet. Rolling hills of purple flora stretched as far as the eye could see, dotted with strange, bulbous farmhouses. The air smelled sweet, like cinnamon and damp earth. My first stop was the only settlement that passed for a town, a dusty collection of buildings around a central marketplace. I needed work, any work, to earn enough for a new hyperdrive core. I spent days asking around. The locals, a gentle insectoid species called the Cathar, were polite but had nothing to offer. Their farms were all family-run, self-sufficient operations. Just as despair started to set in, an old Cathar pointed a spindly appendage towards a lone farmhouse on the edge of the valley. She might have work, he buzzed softly. The widow Zilia. Her mate passed in the last cycle. She manages the farm alone now, with the little one. With a renewed sense of hope, I made the long trek to the isolated farm. The farmhouse was larger than the others, its organic-looking walls glowing with a soft, internal light. A small, six-legged creature, no bigger than a human toddler, was chasing luminescent butterflies in the yard. It had large, curious eyes, and chirped with delight. This must be the little one. A figure emerged from the farmhouse. She was taller than the other Cathar I'd met, her carapace a beautiful shade of iridescent blue. Her movements were graceful, but carried a weight of exhaustion. This was Zilia. I cleared my throat, feeling incredibly awkward. "Excuse me, Mom," I started. "My name is Leo. My ship crashed nearby. I'm a good mechanic, a decent pilot, and I'm not afraid of hard work. I was told you might need a farmhand." Zilia tilted her head, her multifaceted eyes studying me with an intensity that made me squirm. She looked from me to my patched-up jumpsuit, then back to my face. The silence stretched on, broken only by the chirps of her child, who had now toddled closer to inspect the strange, two-legged creature in its yard. "I have no credits to pay a worker," she finally said, her voice a series of melodic clicks and hums that my universal translator rendered smoothly. "The harvest was poor this cycle. I have little to offer." My shoulders slumped. "I understand. I'm sorry to have bothered you." I turned to leave, my future looking bleaker than a black hole. "Wait," she called out. I turned back. She was looking at her child, who was now tentatively reaching a small appendage towards my leg. "You are human, yes? I have read about your species. You form strong family bonds." Yes, we do," I replied, confused. "We're very social." Zilia looked at me, a profound sadness in her eyes. "My mate is gone. My child, Kale, has no father figure. The other Cathar, they keep their distance. Pity, I think. Kale has no one to teach him to build, to climb the great trees, to see the stars." She took a step closer, her gaze unwavering. "I do not need a worker, Leo. I have managed the farm alone. It is hard, but I will survive." She gestured towards Kale, who was now trying to climb my leg like a tree. "What I cannot provide is a father. Kale needs a father." I was stunned into silence. My mind raced. Was she proposing? Was this some kind of alien custom? I came here for a job, a way to fix my ship and get back to my solitary life of drifting through space. I wasn't father material. I was a loner, a drifter. I don't know what to say," I stammered. "You said you were a mechanic," she continued. "A builder. You can fix the vapor condensers, repair the harvester. Kale can watch. He can learn from you. You said you were a pilot. You can tell him stories of the stars you've seen. Things I cannot do." She paused, her voice softening. "In return, you will have a home. You will have food. you will have a family. Until your ship is ready. Or ... double quotes, she trailed off. Or for as long as you wish to stay. I looked down at Cale, who was now looking up at me with his huge, innocent eyes. He cooed, a soft, questioning sound. My heart, which I thought had turned to space dust long ago, did something strange. It ached. For the first time in years, the thought of staying in one place didn't feel like a prison. It felt warm. I need a father for my child, Leo, Zilia repeated, her voice full of a hope that was both terrifying and incredibly inviting. Not a worker. Can you be that? I looked at the broken-down farmhouse, at the hopeful alien widow, and at the curious little creature clinging to my leg. My ship, my old life, suddenly felt very, very far away. I reached down and gently ruffled the top of Cale's head. He chirped happily. I looked up at Zilia, and a slow smile spread across my face. Okay, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Okay, I can do that. And just like that, my mission changed. I wasn't trying to escape Xylos anymore. I was building a life here. My first task wasn't fixing a hyperdrive. It was fixing a swing for Cale. I used salvaged parts from my ship, and as he laughed, soaring back and forth, I felt a joy I hadn't felt in a decade. Zilia would watch from the porch, a small smile on her face. We fell into a rhythm. Mornings were for the farm. I repaired the aging machinery with a mix of Cathar and human ingenuity. Zilia taught me how to cultivate the glowing crops. Afternoons were for Cale. We explored the valleys. I taught him how to skip stones across the shimmering ponds, and I told him endless stories about constellations and nebulae. Evenings were quiet. We'd sit on the porch, watching the twin moons of Xylos rise. Zilia would tell me about her culture, about her lost mate, and about her dreams for Cale. I told her about my lonely life among the stars. We weren't just a landlord and a tenant, or a boss and a worker. We were partners. We were a family. One day, a merchant ship landed in the main settlement. They had the hyperdrive core I needed. For a moment, my old instincts kicked in. Freedom, the open stars. But then I looked back at the farmhouse. I saw Cale running towards me, waving a strange-looking flower he'd found. I saw Zilia, who had brought me a cool drink, her blue carapace shining in the sun. I turned to the merchant. Thanks, but I'm not interested, I said. He shrugged and flew off. That evening, Zilia asked, You could have left. Why did you stay? I looked at Cale, who was asleep in my lap, and then at her. Because a long time ago, a very wise woman told me she didn't need a worker, I said softly. She needed a father, and a pilot needs a homeport, I think. I think I've found mine. Her eyes shimmered, and for the first time, she reached out and placed her slender hand on mine. It felt like coming home. I was no longer the Stardust Drifter. I was Leo, a farmer, a storyteller, and a father, and I had never been happier. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tailies from across the galaxy. See you next time.